you can hear me? All of you can hear me? Hi everyone, my name is callingbull. I'm from the Enoch Cree Nation in Alberta, but I live in Six Nations, Ontario. I'm really honored to be here. I was here earlier speaking to the youth, so I was able to share my story with them as well, and it was an amazing outcome. Everyone was very kind. I got to speak with them, take photos with them. It was really nice. So I'm glad I'm here doing this. I mean, this is a huge issue going on in our country, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story and why I started focusing on First Nations issues. Growing up, I lived with my grandparents till I was about 5 years old, me and my mother. She was a single mother, and my grandparents, they're very well-respected elders in our community. They're a medicine man and medicine woman, so they run the sweat lodge and they do ceremonies. So that's how I grew up until I was about 5 years old. And I loved them to death, and that was my home. And when my mom met a man, he promised to love us and take care of us, so we ended up moving away with him, an hour and a half away, and that's when my life started to fall apart. When I was 5, that's when I started dealing with physical and sexual abuse from this man, and any money that my mother had, he would take it away from her. And I remember just constantly picking bottles in the town, picking bottles anywhere. And I always remember me and my mom going to the bottle depot, and I would just remember that smell. Like even now I can't forget that smell. I would just smell beer, just something stale, and it smelled disgusting. And because of that, I thought, am I disgusting? Because I rely on this place to live, we rely on this place for money, and I just remember there was nights where we wouldn't eat, or she would count how many things can I eat, can you eat 2 pierogies tonight, or my mom wouldn't eat. So we endured a lot. We endured a lot of abuse, psychological abuse as well, and the poverty. It was very hard for me to overcome something like that, only being 5 years old and thinking, is this love? Is this what love is from a man? And I remember all the time, every time after he was done with me or raping me, he would tell me I'm worthless, and he would say, you're never going to be anything in your life. You're never going to succeed, you're a nobody, nobody loves you, nobody cares about you. So hearing that for years, for the majority of my childhood, it changed me. It made me weak, and I hated myself, and I blamed myself all the time. And I remember the first time I've ever experienced racism was when I was 6 years old. I went to a town school just outside the reserve, and I remember there was 4 or 5 Native kids on the bus with me coming from the res, and there was a bunch of Caucasian kids waiting there for us outside of the bus, and I was kind of wondering like what's going on. And as soon as we got off the bus, they started throwing rocks and dirt at us and mud at us, and they said, go back where you came from, you dirty Indians. And that was the first thing I've ever experienced. And I was only 6 years old. And on top of that, I dealt with a lot of bullying in school and the racism, and dealing with that for years, it changes you. I was not the same girl anymore. I was robbed of my innocence, and I didn't have a childhood. I was never happy. There was a lot that I had to constantly deal with because of that. But one day when I was 11, my mom, we ended up escaping. We couldn't just get up and leave whenever we wanted to because we were always being watched. His family lived around the house, so they would watch us, and whenever I go outside, they would call him and say I was outside. If we wanted to go anywhere, they would let him know. So we lived in fear for our lives. There was a lot that we dealt with. My mom, she was supposed to be a paraplegic because he threw her down the stairs, and she had cancer while we were there, so when she was gone, even more things happened to me. And when I was 11, when we escaped, there was no one around, no one to call him to let him know where we were going or where we were going to be. And I remember we went back to my grandparents' house, to my Musham's house, and I was so afraid because I was so brainwashed to the point to think, I have to please this man or I'll get hurt. That was my life, was living in fear. And when my mom finally, came to and broke it down to me and saying, no, we're staying, we're going to be safe now, we've escaped. And that's when I broke down, and I started telling her everything that happened to me, and she couldn't believe it. She told me, she started crying to me, and she said, I failed as a mother. And I said, no, you didn't. I'm like, you didn't know. She was also going through the same things, but that's when I realized, like I want to feel good about myself, but I never could. And after going to court and going to therapy, I got put into therapy because I was a very disturbed child. I had a lot of emotional issues, a lot of stress, a lot of anger, and a lot of hate. And I would go to therapy and it just wasn't for me. I felt so messed up because these therapists weren't telling me how to feel good about myself. They weren't telling me how to fix myself. They weren't telling me where my life's gonna go. There was no way I could feel good because they weren't telling me what to do, and I felt like I needed that. So I would just freak out constantly, and then I thought, therapy isn't for me. It's not healing me. I don't feel good about myself. So I go home to my grandparents' house after therapy, and I always watch my grandparents after we got back, and I thought, wow, they're so amazing. They're selfless people. They live their lives for others. They live their lives for other people, and they make a lot of sacrifices. And they're very humble and thankful for everything that they have, and they taught me to be that way. And then I realized right then and there, like watching them, watching the sweat, I thought, my therapy's right here. Why didn't I see it? So that's when I realized, like, I want to just be exactly like my grandparents. I want to help other people, but in order for me to help other people, I need to heal myself. So I started listening to my cook-on, and she said that in order for me to succeed, I need to have a clean mind and body and spirit. And when she says that, she means that I should stay away from drugs and alcohol because it will ruin my life. And I followed her advice, and I would see friends of mine or kids in school, they would be drinking and doing drugs, and I would see their lives just dwindling away. And I thought, I don't want that for myself. I want to be somebody. I want to do something with my life. I don't want to feel worthless. I don't want to have to pick bottles or not eat or get beaten up. I don't want to live with that anymore. And I thought, what am I going to do to push myself forward? So I pushed myself into my culture, into our beliefs, our traditions, and I used it in every aspect of my life. And my culture saved my life. It healed me, and it made me a stronger individual, and it made me resilient. And then when I was 14, I felt like I was starting to feel like my true self. I was starting to feel strong. I was starting to feel happy. And then my sister passed away. My mom was taking it really roughly, and I thought, you know what? Why wait anymore? Why not start helping people or start helping organizations? So I started working for the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation, which is in Edmonton, and that's the hospital my sister was cared for. And I became the youth representative for that organization. And I just started going into more and more charities. The Cancer Association, because my mom, she is a cancer survivor. Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, because my grandmother, she had pulmonary fibrosis. The Lung Association, because I had tuberculosis when I was 9. SOS Children's Village, Variety Children's Charity, Dreamcatcher Fund. Like, I went crazy with charity work. Like, I loved it. I loved helping other people because it made me feel good to see that it had an impact on people's lives, a good impact. And I never had anyone there in my life to help me. I never had a place to go, a safe place, or someone to just hold me or smile at me or lead the way and tell me everything's gonna be all right. I never had that. So to be that for someone, it was making my heart patch back up. It was making my heart smile, I would say. And that's the reason why I got into pageants as well. That's why it became a passion. But I never thought I'd do pageants ever in my life. Like, I always tell people that the only thing I've seen was Miss Congeniality, so I like literally know nothing. Or I would watch Miss Universe on TV and I'd be like, eh. But I was never comfortable with that because, I was a university student at the time when I got asked. My friend told me, like, you should do this because you'd be able to use it as a platform for your charities. And I thought, how am I going to do that? And she said, well, you go to these pageants, you raise awareness and funds for your charity. She's like, it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, but it will be well worth it. And she's like, I'm sure you're strong enough to handle that. So I tried it. It was definitely a different world. I was the first First Nations woman to become Miss Canada, which was amazing. And from there on, I ended up traveling around the world, competing in different pageants and raising money and awareness for all these charities. And it was a great thing what I did, but it took a lot of sacrifice and it took a lot out of me, because you're chasing someone else's idea of what is perfect, someone else's idea of what is beautiful, not your own. And I already felt good about myself from my culture and my roots. And it was starting to change me, and I would feel some insecurities coming along, because I thought, I want to be, someone else's idea of perfect. Like, I gotta look like this, my body has to look like this, my hair has to be like this, I have to talk like this, I have to present myself like this. And I got so exhausted, like 3 years straight of just doing that. And I thought, this is crap, because this is not me. It's good what I'm doing, going out there and raising awareness and funds, but this isn't me. I don't want to represent this. I don't want to have to parade on a bikini to be dignified as beautiful. That's not right in any way. So I ended up quitting pageants. But another passion of mine also was my education. Forgot to mention that. I remember I really wanted to push myself ahead in life because of everything that I dealt with. So I started with my education first. And I ended up skipping 2 grades, graduating high school early, graduating from university. And with pageants and doing that, it took so much out of me. So I just ended up quitting in 2013. And I'm an actress as well. I'm on a TV series called Blackstone. I'm sure you guys might have heard of it. It plays on ABTN and Showcase, Mari Television in New Zealand, and Hulu TV in the States. And it plays on Tuesdays, so if you guys want to watch it. You guys got nothing to do. But yeah, I love being an actor. It's also another therapy for me, because I get to express different emotions in a healthy way through different characters. So I love doing that. But pageants, I was done. I ended up getting married in February, this February. So I thought, pageants are completely. That's why I live in 6 Nations now. My husband's a Mohawk from there, so I switched reses. Still a res girl though. But so I ended up getting married, and then I thought, pageant career is for sure over, because I've never heard of a missus in my life. Because usually in a Miss pageant, you age out when you're 26.